So delays are in more devices than you think. In fact, almost every single effect that is digital, like a VST or something, has some kind of delay built into its circuitry. It's pretty crazy. Delays, however, in a practical use case are commonly used to create echoes or something to, kind of create ambience in space. But when it comes to IDM, we can do that, but we can also abuse them in which to create interesting glitches. It is going to depend on what you throw into here, but you can take a very simple waveform and use something like a delay to get some really interesting sounds. So it's not really too complicated. Just grab a delay and go and throw the mix on here at 100%. And you can either change the feedback, just be careful of like overdoing it to where it will be infinite, because then you'll get some crazy stuff. But assuming that you even drop it here, just creating a tone and changing the milliseconds of time will give you some crazy pitch jumping. So I have this little rolling sampler on the outside of this that I can pull some of that stuff from. It's kind of like here. And from this, we already have a cool little collection of just weird and wonky sounds to pick from. And of course, if you were to change the waveform or whatever into something more simple, then obviously the timbre of the results that you're going to get are going to be a little bit different. So yeah, super simple, but we got some cool wet sounding things that are really interesting and kind of almost watery just from sine waves. If you were to take something like a drum break, perhaps, then you can also get some more transient heavy or transient style. I just kind of grab a random loop or whatever and toss that on here as well. But now let's go ahead and listen to what that's going to sound like. So, that was some crazy glitching and stuff. And again, we can kind of just pull that out from the sampler. But really what I wanted to showcase with this was how sound design can actually be incredibly easy with just a few effects. But 9 times out of 10, if you see me using a generator or something, you'll realize that there's some kind of delay built into it. An actual delay device, not what I was talking about at the very beginning. But by kind of just putting a couple sounds through this, if you're looking to get weird glitches and weird transient sounds and stuff, then by changing a delay, you're going to get, really crazy results. Now, I know that I use the rolling sampler, but you can just as easy create a resampling channel, and then all you have to do is just tell the input where to go. So this is FM4, so you grab the input here and then say input, and then go to FM4 post. Now, the other thing that I wanted to quickly cover before we end this video is that not all delays are built the same, which is a cool thing and could also be somewhat frustrating. But if you were to take something like delay plus and you set this to, I was wondering if this had jump or anything. No, if you set this to kind of the same thing that's 100% and you change this into time mode, it's not going to give you the same pitching and stuff. In fact, if you're in Ableton, there's a few different modes that you can choose from that will behave differently. But if I were to play the same thing with this drum break, then take a listen to how this is going to sound. So just by changing a couple of parameters, we're getting cool and different stuff, but it doesn't quite sound the same. And that's because even though a delay is a delay, they're not all quite built, or they don't all quite behave the exact same. So I would encourage you to see if you can grab yourself a few different free devices with delays and stuff. The ones that are built into Bitwig are definitely usable, but they might not give you the results that you want. Like even just using a regular delay one on here can sometimes give you odd stuff that might not behave the same way that you would expect. So just for being thorough, let's go ahead and run this through this. So even though we got some interesting pitching and stuff with this, it's still not quite the same behavior as when we use the kilohertz one. And it does sound cool and it does sound jumpy and pitchy and stuff, but again, it's not quite the same. But once you have a bunch of stuff that you sent through these different kinds of delays and whatnot, you pretty much have a whole sound palette in which to start breaking sound and figuring out where you can, get into creating rhythms with this. And I find that I like to do this when I'm feeling lazy because sometimes audio chopping and stuff can be quite tedious, and sometimes I just want to be like, all right, well, let's just take this sound, whatever this is supposed to be, and then now I can start just being like, okay, well, that sounds like a tom, and I'm gonna place that and create a rhythm with it, or take this sound, or literally like whatever the equivalent of closing your eyes and writing would be when it comes to this, or just writing in silence or something, can be a great place to come up with interesting and new ideas. Now, even though this video is about delays, at any point in time you can jump off and start getting crazy with processing racks and stuff, which I'll show you probably in the next video of how to create something relatively simple with modulators and stuff. But this is great because this is all just material that you didn't have to fish through a sample library to choose from. So definitely just grab anything, whether it be a synthesizer or a sample or a loop, and start throwing a delay on it, or take your favorite song, throw a delay on it, and start getting into really cool glitch sounds just from manipulating a single device.